Hello, everyone. Welcome to the JRPG Report. This is going to be episode 146. We are here on the day before New Year's Eve, so we're getting ready to wrap up 2020, and we've got a special show because there's no news. We didn't have anything come out. I know I did a Sunday show, so there really wasn't anything come out in the past couple days. So instead, I said, "Hey, Jordan, what are you doing? Let's do a podcast." So, Jordan, why don't you say hello to everybody?
Hey everybody, it's good to be back. It's been a year, I guess I'll say that. 2020 has been a year.
I thought you were going to say it's been a year since you've been on, but I don't think it's been that long.
No, it's just 2020. It's been something else.
It feels like 20 years in 2020. Yeah. So we're going to have, I think first we're going to talk about, well, I guess we could do it this way. Why don't we talk about all the games we've been playing and kind of how 2020 has been a little bit different. And then at the end, we'll do a little, drum roll, and we'll talk about our game of the year, what we feel like it should be. Yours is going to be different, I think, than mine.
Probably, yeah.
Although I guess you could say it's going to be, and you could go ahead and say what what we think the game of the year is going to be. But okay, yeah. So yeah, normally we'd have some news to chat about, but yeah, nothing really going on. What game are you playing right now, Jordan?
I am playing Cold Steel 3 right now.
But Jordan, that game came out last year.
Well, I'm just a year behind, I guess.
That's because you've been playing, you went back and you did it the right way, and you're like, I'm going to play the Legend of Heroes games in order. Well, what fun is that?
It's fun. I mean, it has taken a lot of extra time. I'll say I did play the Crossbell games. I went, I did the Trails of the Sky trilogy, and then I went Cold Steel 1 and 2, and then I played the Crossbell games during the summer into the fall, and now I'm in Cold Steel 3. So I will say, like, the payoff for playing the Crossbell games before Cold Steel 3 has been incredible. I mean, just I'm a lot more emotionally, I guess, attached to Crossbell. If you can imagine, like, when some characters in the, I guess I don't want to spoil things for people, but when some characters have a freak out about Crossbell and the Empire in Cold Steel 3, it really got to me. It really touched my heart. I felt very attached to Crossbell after that. So it's definitely huge payoff.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's the way to do it. But even though it's in order of release, where Crossbell would come before Cold Steel, the events of Crossbell are actually going on at the same time as Cold Steel 1 and 2. That's right.
Yeah, it's concurrently, but I mean, it's just from some reading, and I found it to be true that if you do it the opposite, like if you play the Crossbell games first, they actually spoil more of Cold Steel 1 and 2 than the other way around. So I think it's actually better to play Cold Steel 1 and 2 first.
That's interesting. And of course, it's, as you're finding out, and as I played through Cold Steel 3 without playing the Crossbell, it's like, yeah, you really would have gained a lot more by seeing all these characters again, revisiting all the places in Crossbell, hearing the stories of the SSS, and or seeing that photo on the desk, in the office of the old crew, just all those little things. Like, that would have meant a whole lot more if you'd have played those games.
Yeah, just like going into the SSS building and just empty, and I'm just like, oh my God, I can't believe it's like this now, and seeing Crossbell with updated graphics, some stuff, how I always kind of imagined it to be, was really cool. Although they left out some districts, I wish I could still see. I don't know if I'm going to be seeing those. I'm only over halfway, I guess, through Cold Steel 3 at this point, but that would have been cool. But it's just really cool to see those areas kind of even more fleshed out. It's the only thing was I played the Crossbell games with the Japanese voices, so it was weird hearing the characters in Cold Steel 3 with the English voices. I'm like, this is like a different person now. So I actually did switch back to the Japanese voices when I was in Crossbell, at least for a while, so I could hear Tio and Randy's voices and everything. But I mean, it was a little hard for me to deal with.
That would be a different way of doing it, yeah. Because like in my case, I've grown up with the English voice, in these past two games, so it'd be weird for me to go and hear the Japanese version of them. And I
Yeah, that's
guess
true.
I won't tell you. You mentioned other districts that you can't go to. I'll just leave it at that. Yeah.
All
There.
right. All right. Yeah, no spoilers. I don't want to be. I've avoided even listening to like your episodes about like more things. I'm going to go back and listen to you and Jake when the rest of that when I finish this game. But I'm just still. I don't want any spoilers. Yeah.
No, no. And I think it'll be fun. Like once you are done with this and you get to through 4, we do have plans of doing like a giant Legend of Heroes type spoiler cast and really connecting all the connections. Try to. I mean, there's so much lore. You're talking hundreds and hundreds of hours. I guess almost 1,000 probably by the time you add it all up and really dive into it. So there's going to be a lot to cover when we make that show, buddy.
It's so many hours. I mean, I think I just got to this won't. I don't think spoil anything for anybody, but I just got to the city of Raquel in Cold Steel 3.
Yes.
And then and I'm at about hour. I think I'm at 93 or something like that, or 95. So I mean, I know I'm guessing I still have a long way to go. I'm the kind of person I like to talk to every NPC after something event happens and everything. So I like to collect all the books, about the life of Tomatonio, and all those books, and I like to read them. So I don't know. I guess I'm probably slower, but
yeah, I think you are just a bit like. I don't mind reading that stuff, but yeah, I'm not reading everything. I'm not talking to every single person. Just if they kind of, grasp my interest, I might give them. But you'll get there. And I was kidding with you the other night. I think you may beat part 3 before I end up beating part 4. It's taking so long to get through it myself.
Yeah, that's what you said. I don't know. I mean, I guess we'll see with other life stuff coming up soon. Hopefully, I can do that before. But
yep. It is tough. These games are super, super long, but they reward you absolutely. And I know just by playing, Trails in the Sky 1 and 2, that's really enhanced my playthrough of Cold Steel 4. Just honestly, I wouldn't want to had to do it any other way because seeing these characters again, especially in 3D, has been worth it completely.
It's so cool. I mean, it's so cool seeing how they look or how you imagine that you're seeing their sprites, and then you get to see, like, I'm looking at Tio now after, like, seeing it in the Crossbell games. Like, this is incredible, Well,
I think even with Crossbell, it seemed like they were a little more spritey in them than in...
They were more spritey, yeah.
Yeah, so, like, they kind of shrunk a little bit from Sky, so it's almost like a completely different character by the time you see him in full 3D.
It is, I guess, but they did the sprites, I think, well enough. So it was how I imagined them to be, like, as they talked in my imagination. So it was cool seeing in my imagination, like for real, kind of even like with Final Fantasy VII Remake, how it kind of did that, it's just pretty cool.
Yeah, exactly. When they weren't blocks, they were actually had rounded edges. It was neat. It's a nice touch. Yeah. So, yeah, you mentioned you played back through the Crossbell games. What are some of the... what other games have you played this year? Can you recall?
Yeah, I can recall. Yeah, so before so my whole last half of the year, where the block was, of course, Cold Steel 1, 2, the Crossbell games, and now Cold Steel 3. But before that, I had Xenoblade Chronicles 2. I had, of course, Final Fantasy VII Remake. I actually played I Am Setsuna this year.
Oh, nice.
I did To the Moon, which was a short one. And I also played Ys Oath of Felghana. Those are the JRPGs I played. I mean, I did like Luigi's Mansion 3 as well, but that's not a JRPG, so we won't talk about that. But, yeah.
Fun game, I'm sure, but yeah, it doesn't really make our podcast.
Yeah.
Did you play?
Fun, yeah.
I know you played Chronicles 2. Did you pick up Xenoblade Chronicles 1 and play it yet?
Nah, I still never got to it. There's too much ahead of it. I figure, I'm gonna wait. Maybe it'll eventually go on sale. Since I played the story before, it's not on the top of my priority list, I guess.
Yeah, I didn't think that you had, and go on sale. Yeah, good luck with that.
Well, by the time I get to it, maybe it will.
I don't know. That seems like it's one of those ones that doesn't or won't. Of course, Nintendo is notorious for not putting their games on sale.
Yeah, but I don't know. Maybe we'll just get lucky eventually. I don't know. I don't know. But I've got beyond that. I've got like in the backlog. I wish I had gotten to more of them. But the Legend of Heroes game just, they've just taken up a lot of time. Like I counted. I have. There's a site called allmy.games, which I have my backlog organized, and I've got 67 games I've counted in my backlog right now. So
unplayed.
Unplayed. Yeah.
Oh wow! I don't think I'm quite that high. I don't think so, at least. I'd hate to see
Yeah,
that. That's an interesting. What was that called again?
called all my dot games,
Okay.
and you can and it's like a you can put like import all your like your own games that you own, or you can also import them directly from PlayStation Network or Steam or whatever you own into it,
Okay.
and you can categorize games as being like you beat them or they're in your backlog or you have like a wish list. And I just found myself like struggling to remember like, okay, what is it that I have that I just haven't played anymore, because it started to grow so much, so now I feel like it's actually there. So and you can rank it too, so I can rank what ones I want to play sooner than later.
Oh, well, that's
So
interesting.
yeah, so I have it all ranked up. I have like towards the top, I've got, of course, Cold Steel 4 is number one right now on there. And I've got like E's Memories of Celceta, however you have it, and then like Tokyo Mirage Sessions, that's like towards the top. Those
Okay.
kind of, yeah.
Anytime
But
I need
yeah,
to, so I've already determined that anytime I need to pronounce a Yee's title, I'm just going to bring you on the show because I can't do it.
well, I don't think I did it well either. I'm just guessing at that one. I know Felgana I got right, I'm pretty sure, but Celceta, Calcutta, I don't know what it is. But,
Nobody knows. It's just like it's just your best guess. That's why
yeah,
I love 9. I'm like I think I got a pretty good grasp on what that one is, but
yeah, that's the easiest one they have. The other one, the Ark of Nepistim and all that stuff they have.
oh my gosh, it's so terrible. But speaking of Yees, aren't you proud of me? I finally got 8.
I'm so excited for you. I had it just was the most fantastic time last year. I mean, it's thanks to Dalton. Dalton recommended it, and it was just I had such a great time, and I think you're going to have such a great time too. I never thought when I was about to play it that it was going to be even as fun as it was. I thought it'd be fun, but not that much fun.
And that's definitely honestly he recommended it to you and to me, and then you played through it and recommended it. So I'm like, you know what? That's really all that I need to know. Kudos to our buddy Dalton. He's a good friend, even with his obscenity laced podcast. He's still. I'm like, you're doing something right. You get the was it the E label on your podcast or whatever it is, explicit.
Yeah.
It's not E for everyone, that's for sure. But no, we love Dalton. He's a good guy, and we need to get him on at some point in time. But I downloaded the theme for it on the PlayStation. And
All that in your background, yeah, I think.
yeah, like it even like it's got the music. I'm like, oh man, this music is incredible just for the theme. I can't wait to play this game.
Well, the music in the game is it's incredible. It's just it makes you feel like you just want to run through the hills, just destroying monster after monster, and just gets you really. It just gets you in the zone. I love it.
Yeah, I think obviously we got a couple ones coming up here, but maybe like that late spring, early summer looks like that might be a good time to check that one out.
Yeah, and it's not like you're going to play like a Cold Steel length kind of game when you play it either. I mean, it's a good chunk of game, but it's not like you're playing one of those,
So probably closer to what, 30, 40 hours, something like that?
You might go 50 on it, like 50 or so, but
Okay.
But probably not more than that. You could spend more time that if you wanted to, but you don't have to do that.
That's good. Yeah, you need those type of games. We don't need to have, like I said, I think Cold Steel 4 is going to take me at least 130, 140 hours to beat. We need some smaller, shorter games in there.
Yeah, that's the thing I guess I'm a little conflicted about, because, I've just gone from one to the other. I haven't had no games in between, so I've gone Crossbell games, Cold Steel right into Crossbell games, right back into Cold Steel 3, and I feel like I just need to see what happens next in the story, so I'm just... I'm into it, but at the same time, I feel like I'm missing out. The backlog's just piling up, because I'm not really getting to any other games right now. So,
are you still planning to wrap up 3 and go straight into 4, or do you need a break?
I am. That's the plan. But,
okay.
I mean, yeah.
That's a big. That's taking on a big. I don't know, man.
I mean, I already I pre-ordered all those February games that are coming out already, and I'm sure that means I probably won't get to those until like May. I don't know.
You never know. We'll just have to keep us all posted on it, and then, like I said, we'll have a big chat about it later on. But yeah, I mean, obviously 2020 has been a weird one, but yeah, it's been like the year of the backlog. I was actually able to get not only get through Trails in the Sky 1 and 2, but I knocked out Nier Automata, which could not have been happier to play and experience that game, and made me really look forward to, Replicant coming out in April. That's
Yeah, I probably should play that game based on how much you've raved about it. I probably should play it.
I feel like it's one of those ones, especially with how cheap you can get it. Everybody should at least try it. It's not going to be for everybody because it is so different and weird, but it's so fantastic, and I had so much fun playing something different. Like we need something that kind of challenges us and it gets us out of our comfort zone every once in a while.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely interested in it. I just didn't know if it would be my thing as much because I don't know if I'm correct in this, but it seems like it's like more of like a really like dark game, I guess, and I don't know if I'm into a lot of those as much, but I don't know. I don't know if you think that's accurate.
You said dark?
Yeah, dark. Yeah.
It's dark and moody. The colors on it make painted out that way. Post-apocalyptic world, and definitely some more mature themes going on in it, but. I'm not either. I mean, I'll play a Resident Evil or something from time to time, but I think it'll draw you in with it. And if you don't like it, then I think it's like $20 or something. You can get it, so it's not like it's going to be a whole big chunk of change to get into it.
Yeah, I mean, I am interested. It's more like the spiders. Are there spiders or are there not spiders?
It's all mechanical, so. Okay. I don't recall. I'm sure there was something, but yeah, certainly less than Cold Steel. I mean, there can't be any more spotters than in that series.
I just can't believe it when they keep showing up. Like, I keep thinking it's over, or like, it just never ends. It's like there's always another one somewhere, and then and after Xenoblade 2, that was even worse with that huge one that crawled from the back of the wall.
Yeah, we don't need. There's so many spiders. That's just a staple of the series. But yeah, it seems like there's been more spiders here recently than I'm comfortable with. And I know your love of them, so.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to
that. No, that's that. But yeah, I think it's been, obviously there's been a bunch of sales going on this year, so there's been a good opportunity for people to pick up games and kind of knock it out. But at the same time, there's been a ton of games released brand new as well. You would think. And while the pandemic did kind of slow down some games getting out in a timely fashion, there was a delay. It certainly didn't mean that there wasn't a ton of games. But you didn't really attack anything new this year. Then it was all
Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Yeah, just Remake. Well, we don't talk about that. That's kind of garbage anyway, right?
Maybe if you're only talking about maybe the end part, but yeah.
That's such. I have still tried to really wrestle with my feelings on that one, and I do need to go back and play it again and see exactly how I feel about it. It's like I'm so conflicted on its greatness and then what kept it from being great.
Yeah, I mean, it is hard to separate the rest of the game from the direction that it started to go in, and depending on how you feel about that could really majorly shape your opinion of the game as a whole.
Mm-hmm. I feel like if you didn't play the original, then you'd really have nothing bad to say about it. But
that might be true. Yeah,
I feel like purist and anyone that played it and was looking forward to this game for 20 years, it's kind of like, well, why? Just a whole lot of questions. But it's not going to keep it not out of consideration for the game of the year. I can already say that.
No, I wouldn't keep it out of there for me, but I just, I still can't identify exactly how I feel about it either yet. I really need to revisit it, but with my backlog, I don't know if I'll ever get to revisit it. I don't know.
I think it's going to be one of those things like you're just going to wake up one morning and be like, oh, I really want to go do that part again. And you can do that at the end. You can skip around and pick and choose.
True. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's a good idea.
But I don't know. It's still one of those ones I'd want to kind of play in order and get the whole experience. So I got a list of ones that came out this year. And so and one of the things we're not going to talk about for Game of the Year, it's not really their fault, but two great games came out, but they've already been released. And that's Dragon Quest 11, it's special edition, and Persona 5 Royal.
Right.
They deserve consideration if you never played them, but I don't feel like either one added, a mountain of content to where they shouldn't already be, considered when they got released before that. I don't think they should be eligible again for Game of the Year. It's just not really fair to win it twice or something like that.
No, I mean they're not. I mean they're not. In my opinion, they're not new games. Like they're not. I mean, you can try to like decorate them all you want, but they're not new.
No, but then like in the same token, like I do throw like Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition in there because at least it was an old game that they completely remastered, you know, and they did add some content to it. It wasn't available on the system previously. It's I distinguish those two.
Well, they added the semester that you didn't play in Persona 5 Royal.
Well, that doesn't count because I didn't get to play it.
Well, I'm just messing with you. I know that was pretty annoying that you didn't get to play it.
Yeah, apparently I was the only one, I guess, but everybody else seemed to find it just fine. But
I don't know if I will. I own it, but I haven't. That's in my backlog too. Persona 5 Royal. So.
No, and obviously I think those were the best versions of it. I still, I want to get Dragon Quest again because I loved it so much. But again, it is just a re-release of the same one. Made little changes, put the 3D mode or the 2D mode in there rather. Added the best orchestral sound, but yeah, I don't feel like that they could be up for that title. As awesome as games as they are, it's like you need to be an original, at least a current re-release for that system.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yep. But also, I mean, this year I'm just going to read down the list. These are the ones that stuck out to me, right? We had Monster Hunter World Iceborne. We had Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. We had the new Sword Art Online game, Alicization Lycris. Fairy Tail. Yakuza Like a Dragon. Trials of Mana. That's just the ones that popped off in my head. So it's been a really big year for JRPGs. And with all the craziness going on to complain about, we certainly could not complain about the amount of new games that came out this year.
No, I mean, I'm surprised, honestly, with everything that's happened, how many new games not only did come out, but are coming out really soon. So it's kind of amazing.
Yeah, it could have been a much, much longer list. We didn't get, obviously, we didn't get Tales of Arise and Grand Blue Fantasy Relink. I mean, those, we should have probably gotten Ys 9. It just took a year and a half to get over here. But that's a complaint for a different day.
I mean, Ys 9 has been something I've been excited about for a long time. So, I mean, I'm glad it's finally going to be here.
It'll be here shortly, just a few more months. So, out of that list of ones that I read out, which one are you most interested in maybe picking up here at some point in time?
You mean the ones from this year or the ones coming out next year?
Which one? From this year.
From this year, probably, you know what? I've always really been interested in Yakuza. Like, I've always been interested in it. I've heard just so many people talk about, just rave about it and rave about like Dragon. And I think I'd be interested in actually picking that up first before any of the other ones.
Yeah, it does look different enough. It is, the guy is obsessed with Dragon Quest. So I think that would be really fun to see all those references in there. From what I've read, like people either really like it or kind of just like, it's whatever. So I think it's interesting. I certainly can see that game, going on sale here at some point in time. You can pick it up pretty cheap, and it might be something worth picking up and enjoying.
Is that what you're interested in the most, or are you picking up something else?
I'd say so. I've really wanted to get Trials of Mana for a long time, and just haven't quite pulled the trigger on it just yet. And I'll get it at some point, but. Because I love the demo. Like I played the demo to death to play through the different experiences. So I definitely want to get it, just haven't yet. And Fairy Tail was kind of on the fence for me, and I probably going to skip it at least until unless it's on like Supercell some point in time. I don't think with that being a physical collector, I don't think there was as much of an inventory for that one, so you might not see it go on sale physically.
Fairy Tail, I just saw it didn't get as good reviews, and I guess it's not something I was that familiar with. I guess it's just not at the top of my list.
Yeah, honestly, if it had been for Jake's review on it and how much he liked it, I probably wouldn't even consider it. But I respect his opinion, and we have a lot of the same opinions on games. So I figured if he enjoyed it, it would definitely be enjoyable.
I know it sounds ridiculous with the Trials of Mana. Like it sounds ridiculous, but I played, recently. I would say within 2 years, I played the original Secret of Mana, right, on the SNES.
Okay.
For the first time, I had actually never gotten to play it. I owned it, but never played it. So, I was playing it, and the AI just drove me nuts. Like, I felt like my party members during the battles were doing the complete opposite of what I wanted them to do at all times. And I honestly found it so frustrating. Like, not myself playing, but the AI, that I felt like I had to stop playing it. I couldn't handle it anymore. I just was like, I'm not having fun. This is really making me annoyed.
Yeah.
And I know people have like raved about the game, so I don't know if I'm like missing something or if it's this kind of thing where people are like, oh, you just got to get good, like whatever. But I just, I don't know if it's that, but it kind of turned me off from the series. And I even own the original sequel as well.
Okay.
And so it just kind of turned me off. I don't know.
No, that's a valid complaint. I mean, I don't think it's anything that you're doing or not doing. It's the limitations of a 25-year-old game. So I remember playing that game growing up, and it had obviously 3 players you could play at the same time if you had there. But we always played 2-player with me and my brother, so I didn't have to worry about that as much. But definitely, when I was playing single player, your guys would just swinging at enemies that weren't even there, or just useless and dying all the time.
Yes, I was just like, I found myself being like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And it just, my blood pressure could feel it rising.
It is absolutely one of those games that you can benefit by having a human being controlling another person to actually make them useful, rather than just because you want to play with the main character, you want to swing the sword around and be that guy, but you need magic, you need that long range attack. You can really use those people in a battle, and I didn't see that with the new one. So and it's only 2 people that I played with. Obviously, once you get that third one in there, I noticed that the AI was pretty good. So they were not attacking air as much as the previous ones.
Maybe I'll try to get my brain away from 1995 or something and just join us all in the 21st century, and I'll try it out.
Well, you don't have to do that. I mean, that was a pretty good time. we were young and innocent back then. We didn't have to worry about so many things. But yeah, no, I've thought about picking up that collection of Mana and seeing if my memories match. Because I think my Super Nintendo still works, but it might be pushing it. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see if it's still the same game I thought it was.
I actually have that collection too. I haven't touched it yet. This is one of the things in the backlog. So, I was wondering, why did I pick this up? Because since I felt that way about the first game, I think it was just more interest in the later games to see if they were any better.
Right. Did you get that digital, or is there a physical copy of that?
I don't remember. I got it digitally though. I don't remember if there's a physical copy or not.
Okay. So, that being said, I know what you're going to say for JRPG of the year, because it's the only one that you played. It's gonna, and I feel like this is the year that like I just read off that huge list of them, but for me it was kind of heavy, top heavy with Cold Steel 4 and with Remake. If you want to throw, Chronicles in there, or Royal, or what else, I mean, that's fine. But those games have been released before. That's the end of the day. Or Dragon Quest, it's between those two. And if you have an answer other than that, I don't know. You just haven't played them, I would guess. And so I know your answer wants to be Cold Steel 4, but it can't.
Yeah, it definitely wants to be, because I guess I just feel like every Cold Steel game, every Legend of Heroes game just is awesome. So it feels like I want to say that, but of course I can't, because I didn't play it yet. So of course I have to say the FF7 remake, of course, but yeah. And
that's not a wrong answer at all. Like, if you want to say either one of those, I can't argue with you, because they're both great games. Like the visuals in Remake, the music, oh my goodness, you can't go better. I thought they did a great job with switching it to an action battle system. They still made it have some strategic turn based to it, even though it was straight action. It's the story choices. It's the the true essence of the word remake that they embraced. And love it or hate it, it's what we got. And I did love the experience. I was completely hooked for my entire time playing it, and I guess we'll see where they go with it whenever they go with it. But it's got high praise, but it's got a lot of question marks, and I hate to feel that way about it.
Well, it might not be until, to be honest, when I was thinking, about how we were both saying we didn't really know how we felt about it yet, it really might not be until part 2 is released when we say, okay, this actually makes a whole lot of sense now, or what were they thinking? You know what I mean? I think it might not be until then. It might still be a couple of years until we see the next game, and then we can feel however we feel about it. I don't know.
So this thought just popped in my head. So, when we talk about the Legend of Heroes games, it seems very obvious that they had an idea and a script for all these games when they made Trails in the Sky 1.
They had to, because even you're getting the Crossbell games spoiling games that didn't come out yet. You know what I mean? So,
exactly. They had to know what they were doing with this game, and maybe even into Hajimari as well. I don't necessarily get that impression with Remake Part 1. I mean, they didn't even call it Part 1.
It's like they're just trying to make a building without a blueprint. They're just throwing together a bunch of pieces of wood and hoping it kind of turns out right or something. I don't know.
Right? Like, let's throw a bunch of ideas against the wall, and we'll see what sticks. And if we want to go down that road in part 2, we will. If we want to have Zach stay alive, we will. Is Aerith not going to get impaled? I mean, we don't know. We're still trying to figure it out.
You could have just spoiled something for that person who hasn't played a game yet from 20 years ago.
Well, that's their fault. It's only been released on every system thereafter as well, so I don't really I mean, if you got a Switch or a PlayStation or a Vita, you can play Final Fantasy VII. Or a PC. I mean, good grief. There's nobody that doesn't have access to that game, but sorry.
I'm just
I can't imagine anyone listening to this podcast has not played Final Fantasy VII, to be quite frank. But
or at least doesn't know what happens anyway.
Right. Had it spoiled somewhere. But yeah, I don't get that impression that they have a huge... They don't even know how many games it's going to be. They don't know what's going to be in part 2 and what's not going to be. So... that doesn't fill me with a ton of confidence either. I know what we're going to get. I know we're going to get the best looking game we've ever seen, and it's going to have incredible music to it. Past that, it's anybody's guess, really, what they're going to handle and what they're not going to handle.
Yeah, and it could be even because they're waiting for feedback. Like, they didn't plan it that much, because they wanted to see how people reacted, and then they want to get people's feedback to maybe almost know what they should do next, as opposed to, like you said, with the Legend of Heroes. They know the story is going to be awesome, and they have all these ideas already. And I guess they don't feel like they probably don't need that kind of feedback. I don't know, for the way they planned out that story.
That is possible. Yeah. You could be right. And obviously, you're dealing with the console change as well, so they've got a lot of challenges ahead. I mean, I still am of the opinion that we don't get this one for a while. That we may even get 16 before we get part 2.
Yeah, I think that's probably true.
They haven't said anything to make me think otherwise.
Yeah, I would think 16 probably comes out first, and I hope they had at least a plan for this one. I don't know. For 16, I mean,
maybe.
It's not throwing stuff in the wall.
We've at least seen 16. We've not seen the first even key visual art for part 2. There's nothing.
What if it turns out they're not really doing it, or what if it just never comes out?
Well, that's why they didn't call it part 1, because there is no part 2.
Yeah.
It's just your adventure in Midgar, and you're done. Oh man,
it would be a problem because at the end, right? Don't they advertise part 2? I think they said to be continued or something.
It was definitely to be continued. So they didn't say when. Well. Yeah. Well, even though that's your answer, it is wrong, sir, because the answer is Legend of Heroes, Trails of Cold Steel 4. And
that makes me excited because that's what I'm playing next. So
there you go. I mean, the answer was Cold Steel 3 last year, and the Cold Steel 4 is the answer. It is truly remarkable how they have managed to get better with each one. And I obviously I don't want to speak to any type of spoiler type of deals, but I can't think of any way they didn't improve the game in each increment, which You can't usually say that. Like, they had different hardware to deal with. They've taken advantage of everything they put in front of them. The only thing I will knock on this one, and this is something that you've experienced as well in part 3, is NIS America's handling of the translation.
You mean like the voice acting and everything? Is that what
Yeah, and so what I've understood is that's kind of like budget restraints of Falcom. So if they didn't voice it in the Japanese version, we didn't get it voiced in our version.
I didn't know that because I thought, because I told you earlier that I switched over to the Japanese voices for a while, and I was like, okay, maybe I'll at least get more voices. Then maybe they just didn't record some of the stuff in English, but no. So
yeah, and I think that's odd to me. Like, okay, just because they didn't, why can't we get it? Like, I don't get that part of it, to be quite honest.
I don't know, and it's just where some of the transitions between the voice acted parts and non-voice acted parts, they are kind of jarring. Even in Cold Steel 3, it's like all of a sudden you got Reen's not saying anything, and then you got the other character talking. And I was redoing some reading because the Reen's actor is more expensive or something, I think. Something like that I read. I'm like, but it's just kind of weird. It's just like they could have done a better job with placement. I mean, I don't mind reading text if they're going to have some parts all text, but it's just weird when it jumps back and forth the way it does.
It does, and there's certain scenes you'll see in part 4 where it's like text, and then they get to like the important part, and it's voiced. And then they go back to text. It's like they had this shoestring budget for voiceover work, and it's just jarring. Like I said, I don't mind reading it all. I really don't. And yes, we were spoiled with Remake. Every single thing is voiced. Yeah. I get that, but this has been a problem with Cold Steel from part 1. The inconsistency with the voice work. And then there are some translation issues. There's been some weird stuff go on. Like, I even noticed one scene the other night where the words on the screen were not what was actually said on in voice. I was like, well, they finally did voice something and it doesn't match up with what's on the screen.
Nice.
Yeah, awesome. But that's like my minor hiccup with it. That would be the thing that, if it's a perfect 10, now it gets a 9.75, type of deal. But I was quick to throw NIS America under the bus on that, and from what I've learned, it's like, actually this is more of a Falcom thing, and NIS was just dealing with the limitations that they had. Obviously, I think they could still do it faster, and that would be nice. But I've at least pulled back on some of that.
I wonder with the Cold Steel games. Like, I wonder if it's when they first transitioned to PS3. I wonder when the graphics got better. It's just like a hypothesis, but I wonder if it's just that they put more money into that, so they didn't have as much to spend on the voice acting. Because in the Crossbell games, obviously the graphics aren't as advanced, but it's heavily voice acted. Like, everything is voice acted, except for some side quests. Like, side quests are all text. Okay. But there's no jarring going back and forth. Like, all the most scenes are very voice acted, and there's nothing that really drops out like that. So it was weird. Like, I was coming to Cold Steel 3 saying like, okay, yeah, this is going to be similar, but no, we're kind of back to Cold Steel again. All of those games. That
is an interesting point. I mean, you obviously had one engine for Sky, one for Crossbow. You had one engine for Cold Steel 1 and 2, and then a different one for 3 and 4. And then Hajimari's the same, and then you got another new engine coming for the newest game. So maybe that there's some truth to that they've put their money into that rather than voice work. I just don't think I just don't think you can do that in 2020. Like, you've got to have a certain expectation, and you've got to have a certain budget for voice acting. Obviously, the amount of text in these games, it can't all be. I don't expect it to be, but at least get through the same conversation without it going back and forth. That's where you lose me.
Yeah, just where you have silence all of a sudden. That is weird. It's just weird.
It is. It really is. But that's, like I said, that's the only thing I can come to grips with. What they are attempting to tie up in 9 games worth is truly phenomenal. And I can't wait for you to experience it, man. Like, I'm still getting it. Obviously, I've not even completed it yet, and I'm still getting every single time I pick up the controller, it's like, oh my goodness, huge stuff going on.
I just don't know I don't know how they planned all this. I don't understand how they planned the story and how they made everything tie. Like, I just don't understand it. Like, was it really back in 2004 when they really planned all this? Because it seems like it. I mean, but it can't be, right? I mean, it's just crazy.
There's no way. Like, even like, so the only parallel with 9 games, if you want to talk about 9 films in the Star Wars, right? Well, George Lucas didn't write 9 films at once.
Yeah.
He did it. He did the middle, the original trilogy, and then 20 years later he wrote the next one, and then he wrote these. So he might have had a loose idea. It sounds like these games were completely thought up, every single bit, at least for the major stuff. And then how it's all going to tie together somehow. It's a huge, huge project. I can't even imagine who did this. And I mean, obviously we know President Kondo is like the figure of Falcon, but like, who's like this person or these people that did this? They deserve some recognition.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I think they did an amazing job with the story. I mean, that's really what these games are about. I mean, is a story. I mean, it's second to none, and just how they flesh out all the NPCs too. I mean, I recognize that. I guess that's why I love talking to everybody, even twice, because it's just like I recognize all the NPCs from everywhere that I've seen in the other previous games, and I still feel like I'm in their world. It's like they're the same people, but now they're further along in their lives. It's kind of weird how they fleshed all that out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Just random people that you feel like don't have a role at all. Here they are. They pop up in a game. 5 games later, it's like, oh hey, how's it going?
I can't remember you.
Yeah. And that's the people that are insignificant. Let alone the recurring bad guys, the good guys that go back and forth, and different alliances all over the place. It's really, really phenomenal what they do. On top of being a really, really good looking game. It has moments where it's not the prettiest game ever, but most of the time it really shines, especially in battle. I think the battle emanations and in the part that I'm at, you're dealing with a large group at times too, but you've got a huge roster of characters to play with. It's just that much more impressive.
And in 4, is there a huge roster as well? I mean, I don't mind if you say that, but
I don't think I'd spoil anything. That there's parts like they definitely kept teams together.
Okay.
And you do have a part or two that you get to choose, but for the most part, it's mostly Sky, Crossbell, and Cold Steel. They kind of
that makes sense.
Yeah, but yeah, you eventually obviously you combine the 2 Class 7s, you got a pretty big roster to choose from, plus all the people that have been showing up in the games from time to time. I think right now, I want to say it's about 20 to 25 that I get to choose from.
Wow.
Yeah, it's so you're making some tough choices on who makes the cut. Obviously, Malchus and Eustace and all these other terrible people are never going to be in your party unless they're forced to. But
I will say that in Cold Steel 3, I don't dislike Malchus as much as I did. I feel like he grew, as a person, and I feel like he's less annoying. So I will say that.
You were absolutely correct. They did a good job with his character. That doesn't mean he's not useless in battle. He is much more. I really like his character. He's pretty funny, but other than that, it's terrible.
I don't know. I mean, something that I don't understand though is how, in the space between Cold Steel 2 and Cold Steel 3, which in the timeline isn't that long, how did these people grow this much? Like they're like a foot taller, and they got full-time jobs now and everything. Like I don't really get it. Like how it's like, oh, you've grown so much since I've seen you. Like you're like a totally different person now. 6 months, has only passed.
Oh yeah. If you're going to be, I mean, you'll say a year, right? Elliot's grown like a foot and is like a rock star, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody, it looks like 2 or 3 years, which for the Sky people, it's been a few years. So you understand that they look different. Sense, yeah. But everybody else, it's like, yeah, you just graduated Thor's. You're not going to they've all got, professions and have grown all this bit, Fee's grown a mullet. It's all these things I don't understand.
Short in the front, the party in the back, right?
Yeah, oh yeah, it's a party, all right. One of my favorite characters in Battle, but I would chop that hair off immediately. She looks ridiculous.
I think it's just the way the timelines work in JRPGs. Like people who are like 35 years old are considered to be like old people, So maybe it's just all the timelines. It's like dog years, they're all accelerated.
Yeah, it's like you'll see a little bit when Agate comes back in. He's like, "I'm only 28."
I'm so old. I'm 26 years old.
Exactly. Oh yeah. Oh, they get it. They get it all the time. They give him a hard time as the old man. Of course, his relationship with Tina is disturbing at best. But
it is disturbing. There's some disturbing stuff going on. And Reen and Elise and all that is. So there's a lot of disturbing stuff, but.
Yeah, those are things you get to deal with. You'll get there. So I think that kind of wraps the book. Yeah, that's our votes for Game of the Year. I think it's been an incredible 2020 from a release standpoint. Just speaking personally, I can't thank everybody enough for putting up with the shenanigans I put on in a week, and it's been a lot of fun recording and getting to have people like yourself on to chit chat about these games. I mean, it's so much fun just talking about the things that we enjoy. I never thought that I'd be in a position where I could talk about JRPGs. It used to be, we used to be shuttered over to the corner of the nerds that didn't talk about games, and now we have this platform to talk about. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, I never would have thought like 20 years ago, it's the kind of thing you just kind of do by yourself. You're just shut in a room by yourself, and you never thought you'd get to talk about them with anyone. So it is really awesome.
Yeah, it's been really fun to see like nerd culture become embraced. Obviously, it shows like Big Bang Theory made it popular, and all these solitary, like I said, solitary actions are now social. I mean, obviously, we're not going to be out there esports anytime soon, but it is fun to see the growth in the industry, and it seems like people, once they kind of understand and experience a JRPG, they're kind of like, oh, I really enjoy this. Why have I not been playing this all my life?
I think people just didn't know really what it was. I think that's really what it is. They just didn't really know what a JRPG entailed.
No, I think you're absolutely right. You grow up with Western RPGs and you're like, oh, well, I understand what an RPG is. No, you really don't until you experience one from Japan.
Yeah, I mean, I think they just think like Dungeons and Dragons. That's pretty much it. Like people who know really not much at all about it. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But I think let's take just a quick pause here, Jordan, and we'll switch gears. I was, I talk on the air about this. I was thinking about making these two different podcasts, but we've not gone that long. So why don't we get into what we're going to look at here in the next little bit? Let's take a deep breath. And so I think we've talked about a few of these already, but 2021 may be a bigger year than 2020 if all these games come out. Obviously, a few of these, like Bravely Default 2 was supposed to be out this year, Persona 5 Strikers, like I said, Ys 9 could have easily made it out this year instead. What's that one big one? Is it Ys that's your next one, or Bravely Default 2 is your next big looking forward to?
It's hard because I pre-ordered 3 of them already, so I just am having I pre-ordered Bravely Default 2, Persona 5 Strikers, and also Ys 9. I mean, it's hard to say which one. I mean, probably I would say Bravely Default 2 is third, and it's hard for me to say whether I'm more excited about Persona 5 Strikers or Ys 9. It's really close. It's really hard for me to say one of those I'm more excited about.
It's tough. I'm kind of grappling with the same thing. Obviously, I throw in Atelier Ryza 2 for myself because I enjoyed the first one so much, and that one comes out first. But yeah, it's really hard to think about these next couple months. These really, really big games all coming out that, quite frankly, we're not going to be done with one before the next one hits our mailbox. I don't think.
No, I mean, it's February is just like it's just a drain on everybody's wallets, I guess, for these games. It's just you're getting them all at once, and then we probably won't finish them till I don't know, the summer or later next year or something.
Oh yeah, I mean, I hate it when that happens, but that's just the way it is. Like, they're not going to be. I don't think they're going to be delayed. I think we're going to stick to this release schedule, and they're all going to come. You kind of wish that they would talk to themselves like, "Hey, maybe why don't you wait a couple weeks until you until this one comes out?" But obviously, I know you're excited about Ys. I need to play 8 before 9. I know they're not connected per se, but
no, like the stories. I mean, there's like things that like a lot of the Tales games aren't really exactly connected, but there's certain things that are part of the franchises. So I mean, if you played previous ones, you might get a little some amusing stuff out of it, but there's no reason you need to play one Ys game before playing another.
No, I mean, I think with Ryza 2, you should definitely play the first one. Bravely Default 2, I think is kind of the same idea. Like, I don't think you need to play the ones previously. You can just go out and enjoy this one. From what I've seen, there's no real connections. I think with Strikers, though, I think you do need to play Persona 5 first in order to enjoy the story for this one.
Yes, I'm guessing that you really do.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the gameplay is completely different, so you're not going to need to know what you're doing. But to really appreciate this story, I think... are you still surprised that we're finally getting that one? I'd almost given up hope.
I am still surprised. I just kind of had tried to forget about it because I just figured we just weren't going to get it. So I'm still surprised it's coming. I guess we can believe it now. It's really coming, right? Nothing's going to happen that makes it disappear, right?
It's official. It's not just a name on a spreadsheet of a financial report. It's there's trailers. It's coming. There's English voice actors for it. I'm super excited. How do you feel about that genre of game? Do you like that Warriors type style, or is it kind of like
it's a Musou game, right? One of those Dynasty Warriors kind of like games, right?
Yeah, like the Hyrule Warriors type ones. Are you into those, or just kind of like just because it's Persona you want to play this one?
I think those games are fun. I mean, I do own Hyrule Warriors. I did enjoy it. I did enjoy Dynasty Warriors games, playing it with roommates back in the day a lot. I mean, so, yeah, I do think they're fun, and I did get the new Hyrule Warriors game that's also in my backlog now. I haven't played it yet, or the Age of Calamity, but I think either way I'm excited about it, but especially because it's Persona 5 and has the characters. I mean, otherwise I don't know. I wouldn't be pre-ordering it the way I am now if it weren't Persona 5, So.
Oh, definitely. I mean, like I talked about before, my experience with the Dragon Quest ones, the Heroes titles, left me a little wanting more out of those type of games. But yeah, this one does seem to be more on that side of the Hyrule Warriors type, with just the numbers. I remember playing Dynasty Warriors 2. Back in the day on PS2, I think that was one of the first, not maybe like a launch title, but right there in that lull when there was nothing else out. So I was like, oh, I'll play this one. And it was fun. Obviously, those were notoriously repetitive back then, and it's gotten a lot better now. Obviously, you've got all the magic attacks that you can do in addition to the strike attacks, and you can play with all the different characters in the party. I'm really looking forward to that.
And I think it's good. I mean. And I think you've said before, it is going to be like the story is like a continuation from Persona 5, right?
Yes, it's a few months after the events of Persona 5, so the gang's all back together again, and it looks incredible. Like I said, I really didn't think we were going to get it. It's up there as my most. I really can't wait for Ryza 2, but that's probably my second biggest one. Because we're not getting. Hey, don't even look for Tales of Arise this year. I don't think it's coming. We know Relink is going to be 2022. They've affirmed that, and like I've seen several people actually put, FF16 on next year. That's not happening. Don't even kid yourself. That's coming out.
It might come out at the very end of the year.
They've not made any indication whatsoever that game's coming out anytime soon, in my opinion.
Well, they didn't make an indication that Persona 5 Strikers was coming out all of a sudden until it did.
Yeah, but that game's out. At least it's been out in Japan for a while, right? All somebody had to do was do some translation and some voiceover. It was like, no, I think that game's a ways off. But there's a bunch of other ones, like we mentioned before. Near Replicant's coming out in April. For Switch owners, they got Shin Megami Tensei 5 in May. Monster Hunter Rise for those fans. Disgaea 6 is coming out next year. The new new The World Ends With You game is coming out. A lot of people have been.
Oh, I am excited about that.
Yeah,
I forgot about that.
You played the original one?
Yeah, it's on DS. Yep. Yeah, I love that game. Yeah, so
Okay.
I am excited about the sequel.
I would have to play that one first. That was one of the ones I missed. The new Neptunia game coming out for PS5. You got Scarlet Nexus. Now, do you think we're getting Hajimari no Kiseki next year?
It's hard to say by next year. I mean, if anything, it'll be like the end of next year. But I'm not really confident in it.
I'm not especially either. Even though if you look at it, we had Cold Steel 3, we had Cold Steel 4 a year later. So
well, maybe.
I think it's plausible.
Yeah.
We haven't heard anything. That's the thing that's troubling to me.
But didn't you not hear anything about Cold Steel 4 for a while? I think you were wondering for a long time. And then all of a sudden they announced it. So
it took a long time. So I mean, Hajimari was September. So we're going on quite a few months that it's been out. And I think I'm more looking forward like the NIS America, like, okay, we've got it. We're at least working on it type of deal. And we'll get to you as quick as possible. That's the best we can hope from them.
They don't seem very, very big on making like pre-announcements like that. So.
No. They'd rather people turn into their conference live streams and be disappointed when they don't announce things. That seems to be their deal.
I think they actually just like disappointing you specifically.
So. They do a great job. People that are looking for news to report and they don't give it to us.
Yeah.
A lot of people looking forward to Disgaea 6. Are you a fan of that series, or is that something you're just like, I don't know?
I don't know because I own like 5 of the games and haven't played any of them. They're in the backlog. So
5 of them?
Yeah.
Usually people buy one and try it out first, at least.
Nope, they're all in there, sitting there.
A lot of people have been a little disappointed this one has moved to 3D, and it's they've kind of got like the characters have an odd look to them. So I have to wait and see if that ends up being divisive in the community or not. No doubt Nippon Ichi could use some good games coming out for them and get some monies back, but we'll have to wait and see. What else on that list are you really hopeful for? Just nothing really else strikes your fancy?
Yeah, I don't think in particular. I think just I was really hopeful about the Grand Blue, Grand Blue coming out.
Yeah, me too.
And I don't even know what I can't even tell you. Instantly, I felt kind of like attracted to that game. Like I just felt like there's something about the style or something. I don't know what it is, but I feel like, I'm really interested in this game already. Even when I first saw, even just some of the graphic style of it, and then all of a sudden it just seemed like we heard nothing about it, and then it seems like it's going to be a while before it comes out. So, but I was looking forward to that.
Yeah, I can agree. It kind of just, just looking at it makes you feel nostalgic in a way. And
maybe that's what it is.
Yeah, I mean, well, they've got the airships. They've got that medieval feel. Like, I've only watched a couple episodes of the anime, so I'm not familiar super with it, and I don't really care. Like, that doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, I don't care.
That game makes me feel like it's an action RPG set in, like, Final Fantasy IX's world with just all this cool medieval stuff of games that we grew up with. And whether it turns out to be like that or not, we don't know, but everything we've seen certainly has that feel to it, and it just stinks that not only is it 2022, but we're going to I guess they're going to develop for PS4, but more than likely you're going to need a new system for it.
Yeah, I don't have a timeline for when I'm going to get the PS5, but I'm sure it'll be whenever I'm forced to get one because there's a game I just have to play eventually, so that's when I'll get it.
Yeah. I mean, that's the same way for me. Is once Ratchet and Clank has a date, I can't.
Oh yeah.
That obviously is a JRPG podcast, but that is my true love of non-JRPGs right there. That series.
No, they are good games for sure. I mean, I really enjoy Ratchet and Clank as well myself. So.
And we said Tales of Horizon is not this year. They've not said that it's not coming out. I just don't feel like it's head in that direction since we've seen next to nothing about it in a long, long time.
Yeah, I just try to put things like that out in my head because the more that they're still in there, the more disappointed I feel. So then I just try to like just put them out of my mind until they really exist.
Yeah, I agree. I was very disappointed when they didn't show anything at the Tales of Festival. That was a good opportunity to get some faith back from the fans, and I think they really kind of missed on that one.
Well, whenever stuff like that happens, I just try to remind myself, I'm like, dude, you have 67 games in your backlog. You're going to be like 75 by the time you even get to that. Like with this guy at 6, right? I'm going to be like 30 years later and be like, hey guys, I actually don't agree with their decision making on how they designed this game. Nobody's going to care.
They're playing this Sky 15, and you're like, I really hate when they went to 3D in Part 6.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is a valid point. And, like I said, like you mentioned with this release schedule, these games that are coming out in the next 2 months, we're not going to be playing for a few months. So it's going to be tough, to say the least. I've got quite the backlog myself. I like your little website there. I'm going to start entering that in there so I can make myself feel better about not having any money to buy new games.
All my games. Yeah.
Yeah. I've already pulled it up on the computer. I'm going to start putting in some information, and it's going to take a while because most of mine are physical. I do have a few that are not, but
I will say I wanted my whole collection in there, so I did the first time I did it. I was kind of obsessive about it, and I set the whole thing up so like everything's in there, and I even I even went to the trouble of saying which ones I completed and rated. You can rate the games and how you felt about them and all that kind of stuff in there too. But I think it's useful if you just want to keep track of your backlog and you just keep forgetting what you have. It's useful.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think that's, obviously Ys 8 moved to the back of my backlog pretty instantly, but I still want to go back and play, Sky the Third, and then pick the investment and the time to do the crossbell games. So if I don't end up getting anything other than Ryza and Strikers, I'll have plenty of stuff to play this year because those are long games.
Well, I just can't, I strongly just recommend, I can't recommend the crossbell games enough. I just feel like you just, at this point, because you're going up through part 4, you just have to play them. Even if it's hard to get them, I can help you get them, but it's just, you just have to play it. Oh,
and I will. That is, without a doubt, I will play those 3 games before I play Hajimari. So that'll get the whole, I'm already too far into 4, so it doesn't really matter, but.
Yeah, obviously.
I still got 30 more hours to beat Cold Steel 4, so hopefully I can get that done before Ryza 2 comes out. The game just keeps on going.
How far am I? How in Cold Steel 3? If I'm in Raquel, how far away am I from the end? How many hours? Do you think? 50?
Yeah, you sound like you're halfway through.
Oh God. I'm in chapter 3.
Yeah, I know, but the last one's super long, and then it just takes a while at the end. It's a lot like 2 was at the end, where there's a bunch, even more so. Yeah, there's a lot to tie up there, so you got a ways to go.
Well, I guess I'll finally see though at the end what you had to wait for so long, because you said at the end of 3 you were like, what am I going to do now? I can't leave it like this. So I guess I'll see what you had to sit through for so long before 4 came out.
As we know, Legend of Heroes games are pretty good at doing that, no matter which game it is.
Well, that's true.
No, you that has been the best thing. After I played Sky 1, I could go right into 2. I didn't have to leave on that. I had to wait with all the rest of them, so you don't have, at least for this one, you don't have to wait at all. It was crazy. It's crazy. You know how it is.
Yeah, I guess for Hajimari, though, we might. Maybe it'll leave us somewhere where we don't want to be. So I don't know. I guess you'll find out, too.
I am truly, truly hoping that for once it's not a cliffhanger. I don't think it will be. I think for once that they finally tie it up, and then they're like, this is kind of like, Hajimari is these new routes and things to explore. I think Hajimari is a bit like Sky 3. In that aspect, that there's telling new stuff, but at the same time, it's kind of just some different possibilities and worlds like that, from what I understand.
Okay.
I don't know for certain, but that's my idea.
I don't know. I thought 3 was really important for some of the lore too, so I don't know. But maybe I actually kind of hope it's more standalone.
Yeah. Well, like you've told me, the doors. Is that what it is?
Right.
I think
Yeah.
that's kind of the idea with Hajimari. I don't know for certain because I've reported what I can, but I've tried not to do a lot either.
Well, and there's like I'm just thinking about it. In the Crossbell games, there are some characters from the third that are important that reappear where they do continue some of that story. So third isn't really as standalone as I originally thought it was before I played Crossbell.
Okay. Yeah, I'm still waiting for some characters to maybe pop in. Or there's a ton of mentions, like, but there's not a ton of pop-ins yet, which is fine. Yeah. Well, dude, is there anything else you want to kind of throw out there? I think we've rambled on about as much as I know to do.
Yeah, I think I definitely rambled enough.
Well, they can look forward to more of this rambling when we get done with all these Cold Steel games, so we can look back and do a giant. That'll be a special. That'll be a spoiler cast though, so we won't. We may not have all the listeners for that one.
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to that. So I've got to get on my horse and keep plowing ahead in Cold Steel 3 so I can catch up.
There you go. And yeah, we'll. This has been a special one, even though it's our regular weekly podcast. Hopefully, we'll have some news to report next week. But I hope you guys have enjoyed it. We're going to wrap this thing up. Jordan, would you like to tell the good people what to do?
All right, everybody, don't forget to get back out there and level up.